asking me to do this because I've learned quite a bit myself on this. And let me take these off because now I can see. But yeah, I went through. My name is Terry Shalafu. Some of you know me as Terry Cardinal. Hopefully you can hear me way in the back there. But my topic is going to be the stigma and discrimination. I looked up the definitions of stigma, and there's three kind of separate definitions of stigma. One is mark of shame or discredit. Your other one is mark or brand. Another one is an identifying mark or characteristic. And the word mark is in all of these definitions. A mark. You're noticed by the mark that you have on your body as a tattoo, a scar, right? And the one story that I remember feeling about stigma is when my sister passed away. She had been gone for a week. She'd been missing for a week, and we had phoned the cops and the RCMP, and they kind of sloughed it off as, well, she's a native, she's a young girl, she's probably off partying, probably just doesn't want to be found, and just chalked it up to a native girl, young girl, and that was stigma right there. They put a mark on, my sister as identifying mark or characteristic because she was native, So that was a stigma. And another, the definition of discrimination is an act or practice or instance of discriminating categorically rather than individually. So the first time I felt discriminated against was when I was in, I'd say, grade 3, and we had this dance, and I went to this dance, and I like to think of myself as a good dancer, but this one other young boy came up to me, and he kind of pushed me, and he says, "You dance funny." And all the other kids were all doing the little side shuffle, right? But I was giving her, and I was proud of my dancing, But that kid came up to me and he says, "You dance weird," and I was like, well, why do I feel different? Why do I, feel this way? Because am I doing something wrong, right? And I don't think that he knew that was discrimination, but that's what I had felt right off the hop. And there are other definitions of discrimination that go under that. Discriminating against, which means to criticize, to persecute, harass, treat unfairly. And I felt criticized. I felt persecuted because I was different, because I was dancing, differently. And, people that are discriminated against are, HIV people, lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual, queer, elders, young people, native people. Big discrimination there for us. Has anybody ever gone into a mall or a store and had people following them, right? Oh, you're thieving, right? And I heard of an instance where my friend worked in a hotel room, and she heard her co-workers, which were Caucasian people, and they were talking about one of the rooms, and the ladies had said, well, that room is full of native people, or Indians is the word that she had used. Discrimination. And she says, well, expect a big mess. Like, I'm sorry, but Caucasians, do they not make a mess? Has anybody ever heard of these rock stars that make a big mess, right? So, I mean, you know, the discrimination right there, just because we're native, we're going to trash a room. So, and another word is judged, you know, and that means unjust, preconceived, separated, excluded, and divided. So I was judged on the way I was dancing in grade 4. I was, you know, I was separated from the other people because I was, you know, different and I danced differently. And there's another time where I had gone into one of the local establishments, a pub, and there was a bigger fella there that was of the biker persuasion, nothing wrong with them, but he was a bigger fella, and he had a problem with gay people, and without even asking me or anything, but just hearing about me being a gay person, he insisted on coming up to me and telling me to get out of his bar, you know, and was swearing at me and calling me all these names and everything. So I'd be like fearful, and I'd be trudging off, and I'd, you know, leave, you know, because I was scared of this person, whatever, and, you know, and didn't stand up for myself. And I thought, you know what, that made me feel small, little, scared, you know, because this person was attacking me for no apparent. I did not give this person a reason to harass me, to give me that. And another time where I was in another local establishment, a lounge, but me and a friend had walked in there, and without even being served, and you know what, we sat down with another table full of people, but the waiter came up and said, well, we're not serving your kind here, we're not serving you. And I first, right off the hop, I'm thinking, because I'm native? Is this because I'm gay? Is it because of the way I'm dressed, you know? And I was like really confused as to why this person wouldn't serve me, right? This was in the early 80s, and you know, the 80s in Red Deer was not the greatest place to be, right? And the 80s compared to as now, we had Pride Week for the first time this year, right? Yay! But like I say, back in the 80s, it was all very redneckish. I don't like to use that word because that's you know, putting it on somebody, you know. But very staunch cowboy, you know. But yeah. So that made me just all the confused, and it really gave me a feeling of discrimination. That you don't have to give a person a reason to discriminate. They will just preconceive on what they see, the way a person's dressed, their mannerisms. So, and intolerant comes in there a lot because discriminatory people, I'm pretty sure, are unwilling to grant or share social, political, or professional rights. So if you're intolerant and he didn't want to share that space with somebody who is gay, right? Discrimination, and you know, he was intolerant because of that. And so when stigma comes in with discrimination, there's the difference of, well, I'll share the story of when I walked into Superstore one day, and I was standing behind this lady who was Spanish, I would say, and I was standing behind her, and she looked at me, she turned around, and right away she started speaking Spanish to me, and just, you know, and I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, sorry. She looked at me and she goes, well, I could have swore you were Spanish. You looked so Spanish, and you look. And I'm like, okay, well, like, is that a stigma, or that's not discrimination? But because stigma is a identifying mark or characteristic. Stigma. Do Italian people all look dark and, curly haired, handsome? But, and discriminating, making a distinction, pick and choose. Distinction. A good definition or example of that is the voice. The people sit facing away from the contestants, so they don't have that, this person's going to sound like this, or this person's going to sound like that. They don't look at the person, they pick and choose, and they make the distinction of what they want to listen to and what they want to hear. No. My friends, they pick and choose their words with me. So as Ray, I'm sure people pick and choose their words with you, right? So, like, a nickname of mine is Terry Queen, right? It's a term of endearment. But also at the same time, if somebody had called me Terry the Fairy, I would take that as a discrimination. Because you're not my friend. You're not, you're nobody to me, right? And you're putting a mark on me. You're using a stigma, right? And does this discrimination, does it have power over me? Am I going to let that person's discrimination hurt me? Am I going to hold that? Am I going to let them have power over me? Because they're discriminating at me, right? And I was thinking, while I was doing this, do I discriminate? Do I discriminate against people? And you know what? Yes, I do. That is something that is a human nature. We discriminate on who our children are going to hang around with. We discriminate on who we want to hang with. We discriminate on what we want to eat. But when it becomes something when we're discriminating against somebody else, and our intentions are just because our own blinders, that's discrimination. And we're intolerant against people. And I myself, I don't like to think that I'm a discriminator by any means, but yes, I do discriminate, if I see somebody who is talking to themselves down the street and they're coming down at me and they're talking at themselves and they're mumbling, my first thought is, okay, that person's crazy, right? And I don't know where their situation is. They could be talking on their Bluetooth for all I know, right? And I've done that. Walk the other side of the street because someone's talking to themselves and they're on the phone. So, and have you guys ever experienced it? You just want to think about that. Think back of a time when you were discriminated against, right? And another definition of discriminate: to make a distinction in favor of or against a person or thing on the basis of the group, class, or category to which that person or thing belongs, rather than according to actual merit, and show partiality. So, discriminate just because I am native, because I am a gay person, because I have Hep C, because I am a native alcoholic, right? People can use these to discriminate against me. Do I have that power to let them discriminate me because of who I am? And again, stigma. I'm afraid to tell people that I have Hep C because of the stigma of Hep C, right? I will not, stigma keeps me away from going to the doctor or telling people of why or I'm sick or because I'm an alcoholic, because they will have that preconceived idea of what an alcoholic is, or if Hep C is just caught by contagious, right? A lot of people make their ideas and everything based on preconceived ideas. So, just one last thing to think about is that my name is Terry Wayne Shellebrue. I am a gay, two-spirited, Hep C, alcoholic, native man, and not afraid to say that right now. Thank you very much for your time, Ray, and thanks for listening, you guys.